Hello and welcome back to the Film Odyssey Podcast. I'm Sal,
And I'm Dan.
and today we are going to discuss our best and worst films of 2025. 2025 has been an impressively underwhelming year.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'd say it's been a very interesting year.
I mean, a lot of movies that I guess we had, at least for me on my anticipated list, they
Yeah.
either maybe one of them or two of them exceeded my expectations or just hit that spot where I loved it just as much as I thought I would. But everything else was either disappointing or some of them either made my dishonorable mentions or my worst of the year, which is
Y-
crazy.
Yeah, for me, a lot of the movies I was anticipating this year, like Mickey 17, for example, Ballerina, The Running Man, I found to be underwhelming, and they were like on my anticipated the year list, which is unfortunate.
I know you're going to laugh at me for this, but Megan 2.0.
Well, don't worry, I have my own Megan 2.0 that was on
Oh, I
my.
know you do, Dan.
Yeah,
But yeah, no,
trust
I
me, I'm
haven't.
not making that mistake again for 2026.
Yeah, I'm gonna try my best not to make that mistake either. Although I can't predict the future. Tron Ares, uh, I had
Uh,
so much hope for that. And I know you liked it more than I did, which I was shocked. But I tell you, I watched that and I was just like, man, Shelby Oaks, Chris Stuffman, that was okay at the
oh,
very,
yeah.
very, very best.
Yeah, I didn't like it, but it's not so bad that I'd put it on my worst of the year list.
Yeah, and I also thought one last thing too, The Naked Gun, pretty funny, but not groundbreakingly hilarious as I thought it would be.
Yeah, no,
Runs out of
it did
steam in the third act.
definitely did stay save studio comedies, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's very safe. I wish comedies were more like the TED show on Peacock where they just go for it.
Yeah.
Which we're also getting a new season next year, which I'm very excited for. So we're gonna start off with our worst movies of the year. Dan's gonna go first.
So number 10 on my list is Nobody 2. This is, of course, the sequel to the 2021 movie, which kind of broke out because everyone was intrigued to see Bob Odenkirk as an action star. I wasn't a huge fan of the first movie, but I think it's easily, without a doubt, way better than the sequel, which released like August of this year. I didn't even plan on seeing it, but I ended up watching it like 2 weeks after it hit theaters when it was like on digital. This movie was not good, man. Like, let me tell you, I think 87 North, the Chad Stahelski and David Leitch's production company, I feel like their movies are getting very predictable in the sense where you kind of know what to expect every time you see a movie produced by their company that isn't directed by the two of them. The whole movie just felt very bland, like very going through the motions, nothing really new or exciting. Like you've seen probably like 20 different variations of this movie done before. It just felt so bland and underwhelming to me. So that's number 10 on my list. Number nine for me is Captain America Brave New World. Now, this movie is the perfect example of all the problems with the MCU in the last 5 years just by watching this movie. Like, you could tell when watching it, it was like reshot like 20 times. It was rewritten probably like 10 times. I actually feel bad for Anthony Mackie because he was supposed to kind of be like the new Captain America, and he was like saddled with this mess of a movie. There's like no stakes. The whole Red Hulk plotline felt like forced and everything. You've seen better versions of this done like 20 times before. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's going on my worst list. Number eight is a movie that honestly I should have known better before watching it, and that's going to be Honey Don't.
I learned
So
my
yeah,
lesson, so I guess you had to learn yours.
yeah, I guess it fool me twice, shame on me. I think applies for this movie because after last year's Driveway Dolls, also done by Ethan Cohen, I feel like I should have known better. Because that was also a miserable experience of a movie. And this shockingly was even worse than that. Like I didn't even think it could get worse, but this is probably the worst movie Ethan Cohen has ever made in his career. The cast is like completely wasted. The only good part is like Chris Evans, who's trying to make something happen, but he really can't save this movie, unfortunately. Audrey Plaza, she's completely wasted, has like nothing to do until like the last 10 minutes. Margaret Qualley comes across like completely like bored and like tired the whole movie. Probably the worst performance I've seen from her. It's like she didn't really give a shit. Let me tell you, the one thought I had after this movie ended was I don't know if they need to make up or something, but can Joel and Ethan please reunite? Because it keeps getting worse for Ethan. Like, I'm scared for him to direct another movie on his own at this point. If there's any good in this world, hopefully Focus Features cancels the third movie after this movie bombed critically and financially. Number seven for me is going to be Until Dawn. As someone who played through the game, I had high hopes for this movie. Completely terrible. In a time where video game adaptations are like kind of on the rise, where we're finally getting some good ones, this just reminds you of like all the shitty ones when watching it. It's like, what the hell were they thinking? It tries to rip off the Happy Death Day movies by doing like the time loop scenario situation, and it
Mhm.
just comes across as completely forced. And David F. Sandberg directed this, who did the Shazam movies and Lights Out. And honestly, after this, I think he might end up in director's jail because I'm pretty sure this bombs financially and critically. So unless he makes a really low budget, like original horror movie next, I think he's done. Number six for me is a movie that was on my anticipated list for some reason, and that's going to be Hurry Up Tomorrow.
Shocker. Who saw that coming?
Listen, let me tell you, talk about people in director's jail. Trey Edward Schultz, he's definitely in director's jail after this movie. I don't th unless he makes an extremely low budget indie movie, I don't see a way back for him. For some reason, Barry Keoghan was in this movie. I don't know why. He must have needed a paycheck or something. So my number five is actually FNAF 2. Look, this is a movie I was kind of like dragged into seeing. I didn't really give a shit about this, especially after how poor the first one was. It felt like a horror movie made for 13-year-olds. This second one was somehow even worse, and I didn't think that was possible. Like j just a really laughable movie. Like if you're over the age of 14, you would probably be laughing your ass off at this movie. Like it's not scary at all. I'll tell you for sure, I am not watching any more of these shit show movies. Or to be honest, I think I might start avoiding Blumhouse as a whole after this movie because this was just like atrociously bad.
I'll start off with my dishonorable mentions. I
Okay.
only have four. So my dishonorable mentions is Begonia, Die My Love. I wanted to like this movie, but I just did not. Megan 2.0 and Jurassic World Rebirth. Number four for me is going to be In the Hand of Dante.
Wait, does that count?
Yes, that does count. It's considered a 2025 release, and it was released at Venice and Tribeca in
Let
Portugal.
Listen, let me tell you something, man. If I was at Venice, I would be booing for 10 minutes at that movie.
They probably would have kicked you out, but I know you would have felt like an honorary person just to be kicked out for that.
Yeah. How the hell can you clap for 15 minutes after watching that?
So you might be wondering, In the Hand of Dante, what is this about? And truth be told, I don't even know. Uh, Here's a synopsis of it. Because if I were to try to explain this to you, I think I'd be sound like I had an aneurysm from what's on Letterbox. A handwritten manuscript of Dante Alighieri's poem, I probably pronounced that wrong, The Divine Comedy, makes its way from a priest to a mob boss in New York City, where it is taken by author Nick Koshik, that's how you pronounce that, after he's asked to verify its authenticity. This is directed by Julian Schnabel. Now, Julian Schnabel directed a film called At Eternity's Gate in 2018, which was a critically beloved film about the famous painter Vincent van Gogh and starred Willem Dafoe. How you go from that to this, I don't even know. It's over 2.5 hours long, nearly 3 hours actually. It's 160 minutes of pretentiousness, and I literally felt like I was wasting my time. It's self-indulgent, it's pretentious, it thinks it's being smart, and it thinks it's too smart for you, but it's just is like the worst person you met, thinking he's above everyone else, but he's not. Also, Martin Scorsese stars in this too, and Al Pacino.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't
Unfortunately.
know. I have no idea what got them to how like they probably needed a paycheck. Well, I don't think Scorsese needs a paycheck. Also, yeah, Drake is the executive producer of this. I have no clue why. For anybody who saw this in theaters, I pity you.
Did this even play in any theaters?
Not yet, but I don't think it will.
Yeah, so my number four is going to be another Blumhouse production.
Oh,
Um,
wonderful.
and that will be Wolfman. I had some hope for this movie because it was directed by Lee Winnell, who did Upgrade, which I thought was great, and then The Invisible Man, which wasn't as good, but I still thought it was a solid movie. I don't know what the hell happened with this movie, but this is easily his worst movie so far. I think Ryan Gosling was originally cast as the lead, and after watching the movie, I could tell why he dropped out. I'll tell you that. The effects I thought were very cheap looking. The story was terrible. The acting I thought wasn't good either.
So my number three, and this one kills me very much because this was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. That is Mickey 17,
Oof.
directed by the one and only Bong Joon-ho, who previously directed the Oscar-winning Parasite. This is, I guess you'd call Bong Joon-ho's post-Oscar blank check, because
That's basically what it was. Yeah.
that literally is how he kind of treated this one. Let me just start off with the positives for this, and I'll be very quick. I think the production design is outstanding. And I think the person who did the production design was also the designer of Beau is Afraid, so no wonder why I loved it so much. Yeah. Fiona Crombie, I believe is her name. Mickey 17, The Favorite, Cruella, Beau is Afraid. Oh, and Hamnet, too. Yeah, she knows her shit, so that's good. And the cinematography by Darius Kanji, who has never let me down or anyone down with the cinematography of any film. And he recently just did Marty Supreme, which I mean, on a technical level, I thought that movie was impressive for sure. It looked very crisp and rich. And last but not least, of course, who has never given a bad performance, even though his performance in Dime I Love was not the best. That's really not on him. His character was just one-dimensional. Robert Pattinson, he is phenomenal in this movie. To the negatives, everything else, I'd say the writing and directing by Bong Joon-ho is just a catastrophe, and it's like you're watching an explosion unfold right before your eyes as the movie continues. The beginning part of it, I remember thinking, like, a lot is not working here. It's a lot of choppiness. The editing isn't good. As the movie continues on, it just goes downhill tremendously. The story is a waste of potential, or at least the way he adapted it. It was originally Mickey 7, but he decided to stay Mickey 17, make the story continue or evolve more. I don't think that helped the situation at all. It's so bad to the point where you think there must be a director's cut or he didn't get final say, but apparently he did, and this is what he chose to do with it. I think Mark Ruffalo was terrible in this movie.
He was awful.
He's a great actor. Yeah, but even the satire is so just half-assed. I get the point was to be cheap with it, but it just fell flat. And also, if you put Toni Collette in your movie, don't waste her. And that's exactly what they do in this film. And also, last thing, the fact that we had to wait like 3 years with delay after delay after delay, and this is your end product, like, be real.
So number 3 for me is going to be Jurassic World Rebirth. Now, I think most of us, well, the people who unfortunately sat through Jurassic World Dominion in 2021, I think mostly everyone thought the franchise can't go lower than this. This is rock bottom. And then Rebirth releases, and you're like, oh my God, they found a way to go even lower somehow. Even when you replace Chris Pratt out for Scarlett Johansson and replace Colin Trevorrow for Gareth Edwards, who I do think is a better director, it still couldn't improve this franchise at all. This is written by David Coeb, by the way, who also wrote this year's Black Bag, which way better movie than this. I don't know if he phoned the writing job on this movie in or something, because the script was like so bad, like a drama student in like high school could have probably done a better job. I get that these movies are like try to appeal to like mass audiences, right? That's why they make so much money, but it just felt so safe and predictable. It didn't even feel like Gareth Edwards really directed the thing until like the third act, where you kind of notice his sensibilities coming through a little bit, but it just felt like a phone-in job for everyone involved. And I think this was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I'm done with the Jurassic franchise. I will not be watching any other movies in this franchise.
So number 2 for me, Ballerina. I didn't have much expectation going into this film, although it was scary when they had to reshoot it because Lionsgate was not proud of the work that Len Wiseman did on it. And after seeing the final cut, I could only imagine what that original cut would have been like, because this final cut is atrocious. The fact that they had Chad Stahelski co-directing it, or at least
doing the
whatchamacallit,
reshoots.
he couldn't save this film, nor could Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves shouldn't have even been in this movie.
Number two for me is going to be Snow White. I don't think I even need to go into detail on why this sucks. There's literally like probably at least 40 YouTube videos like trashing this movie as is. So I probably don't need to say much except that this was a complete misfire by Disney. I don't know what the hell happened here. I'm pretty sure this has like a 2.5 on IMDb, which is horrendous.
So my number one worst movie of the year, that is Steven Soderbergh's Presence, written by David Koepp, who wrote Black Bag and Jurassic World Reader. It's a waste of time. That's all I got to say about this one. It's everything I hate about dramatic family films. The messages in it, some of the Easter eggs or things that they were trying to hint at were either just disgusting, stupid, or just weird, or had no purpose in general being in the movie. I thought the family dynamic sucked. It reminded me of the awfulness of Trey Edward Schultz's Waves. And I just was rolling my eyes. And the ending just was insult to injury.
So my worst movie of 2025 that I saw this year is The Electric State. Where do I even start with this movie? It's a Netflix movie. Somehow this cost $300 million. This was just a complete failure on every level. I don't recommend you watch this because you'll probably just end up being frustrated and want your time back. And I know a lot of people are hyped for Avengers Doomsday next year, but after seeing this, it's like, how the hell can you not be nervous? Because the Russos haven't done anything good since Endgame, and that was 6 years ago at this point. Yeah, so a lot of mediocre to bad movies I feel like released in 2025 in general. Um,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I saw more of them than you did.
Now we're going to discuss our best films of 2025. You have 10 films and 2 honorable mentions, so, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to start with you first.
Yeah, my first honorable mention is going to be Steven Soderbergh's Black Bag. Luckily, I watched the better movie of his this year. I didn't really have any like anticipation for this at all, but it kind of like quietly released and was getting good buzz, so I thought why not watch it? And I did when it hit digital, and I was surprised by it. I didn't think it was like amazing, but I thought it was good. I feel like Michael Fassbender is one of those actors who's like always good in everything. And by the sounds of things, I definitely picked the right Soderbergh movie to watch this year. My next honorable mention is going to be Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. As a final Mission Impossible movie, and by the way, I do believe this is the final movie. I know when people say that these days, you kind of question it. You're like, oh, the studio's just going to pump more out or whatever. But in the case for this franchise, I truly do think it's done because like you can't do these movies without Tom Cruise. Like you can't. I did think this was good as Fallout, which to me is still the best of the franchise, and I think it should have ended there. I'd say it's a solid ending, and there are 2 scenes in particular that really make you go like, holy shit, this was worth watching for those 2 scenes alone. But other than that, it wasn't good enough to be in my top 10. So my number 10 is going to be James Gunn's Superman. Now, this was a movie that obviously had a lot riding on it, right? Like this is it for DC, right? If this doesn't work, it's pretty much over, especially after like half a decade of like flops or like embarrassments. Luckily, I think this movie delivered in that regard and kind of like saving the franchise. I'm not like a huge Superman fan, so I wasn't really like highly anticipating this. And the only reason I was looking forward to it was because I personally think James Gunn is a really strong director, right? And I want to see what he would do with this movie. After watching it, I don't think it's his best movie by a long shot, but it did what it needed to do, I think. So that's why it's at number 10 for me because it did a good job at setting up this kind of new DC universe, but I didn't think it was personally like Gunn's best movie, so that's why it's only at number 10. Number 9 for me is going to be Thunderbolts. And surprisingly, I have 2 comic book movies on my list this year, and last year I had none. I thought this movie was surprising because compared to something like Captain America: Brave New World, which I thought was like horrendously awful, this at least had something to say, even though the message about like depression and stuff like that, I feel like was kind of cliche and they could have gone deeper with it. But I do think it was definitely the strongest movie the MCU released this year, in my opinion. I feel like I would have liked this no matter what because I have a soft spot for Florence Pugh and she was the lead of this, so I feel like I was going to like this no matter what. But in terms of like a movie, I thought it delivered way better than Brave New World or Fantastic Four First Steps did. So that's why it's number 9 on my list. And I do think, the message about mental health and depression is important, right? So that's why I put it in my top 10. Number 8 for me is going to be Marty Supreme, which
All right.
just released like today or yesterday, I think of at time of recording this. We got to see this a few days early.
Well,
I don't think it's Josh Safdie's best movie compared to like Uncut Gems or Good Time. I still think those are stronger, but I do think this movie, again, it did what it needed to do. I think Timothée Chalamet, I do think he gives the best performance of his career here. I haven't seen him give a better performance than this. I'm pretty sure he's likely going to get nominated, and at this point, I would be surprised if he wins an Oscar for this. Is it deserved? That's a whole nother discussion that we're not here to have. I really like this movie. I think most of it worked for me, and it delivered for me what the Smashing Machine didn't. So yeah, my number 7 of best of the year is going to be Avatar: Fire and Ash. So I'm not like a huge super fan of this franchise. I like the first 2 movies, but I didn't think they were like phenomenal or like the best work James Cameron has ever done. I was kind of looking forward to this movie because, it's a James Cameron movie, and I feel like whenever he's one of those directors where whenever he releases something, you just have to pay attention to it. And to me, I think Fire and Ash is the strongest of all the Avatar movies, at least for me. I think the character development worked the best here. The characters in general, I found their stories the most engaging compared to the other 2 movies. Like it wrapped most things up. So in the case that a 4 and 5 don't happen, I feel like this is a satisfying enough conclusion for the Avatar super fans out there. And my number 6 for 2025 is going to be Darren Aronofsky's Caught Stealing. This is a movie where I saw like the trailers for it play like 20 times over the summer in front of other things. And I was kind of like apprehensive. I'm like, this doesn't really look that good. The first time I watched this movie, I thought it was good, not great. And then I rewatched it like in late October and I liked it even more, surprisingly. It's definitely the lightest and most mainstream movie Aronofsky has ever made, which I think should be a turn on for most people, considering most of his movies are like dark and depressing as hell. And for me, I think Austin Butler is one of those actors who keeps like evolving and getting better for me. Every time I see him in something else, I feel like I'm becoming more of a fan of his.
I'll start off with my honorable mentions, and I'll start off with the top 5. My honorable mentions, I had 3 this year. First honorable mention is going to be Superman by James Gunn. I liked Superman. I thought it was really good, better than anything Zack Snyder has ever made, although that's really not saying much. I thought it was fun, thought it was entertaining. I liked this new portrayal of the character. I think that it's not the ultimate Superman movie that I was hoping it would be, but it is a James Gunn Superman movie, which for the most part worked. The main job was to start the DCU off on a good note, and that's what this did. The next honorable mention is going to be Paddington in Peru. I really like this movie a lot. It's not by Paul King this time, which is unfortunate, but Douglas Wilson, if that's how you pronounce his name, I think he did a great job directing this one. It's not as good as the first or the second, but it is pretty damn good, especially when you don't have the person who started it all directing or writing it. And my last honorable mention, this one might be shocking to you, but because I had barely any interest in this movie, but it actually satisfied me. That is The Smashing Machine. I really like this movie a lot more than I actually thought I would. It's an uncontemporary sports drama in the best ways possible. It was weird at times, I liked. The director of it is the true character of this movie. So number 5 for me, and then we'll take turns, is Ari Aster's Eddington.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I saw this movie twice in theaters. The first time I saw this, I actually was not a fan. I didn't really care for it. But I had to really think about it because out of all of Ari Aster's movies, there's not one film where I see it and I'm like, no, I would never watch it again. I didn't leave the theater the first time thinking, oh, I got to see this again as soon as possible. I kind of didn't want to, given the subject matter. It was like, yeah, I got it. But because it's Ari Aster and his filmmaking, I was like, you know what? I'll give it one more shot. I'll go in a different mindset. Man, how a second viewing can change everything, Dan. It was like a totally new perspective for me. I got everything that Aster was trying to convey on screen. It is political, it's satirical, but it does it right. It takes aim at both sides while choosing a side. It wasn't amateur in its execution nor its ideas. And I think this might be the most scariest one of his filmography because if 2020 never happened, it feels like something he would have created all on his own.
Yeah, I agree. Number five for me is going to be Derek Cianfrance's Roofman. Now, this was a movie that was kind of marketed as like a comedy or whatever. The trailers kind of misrepresented the movie because if you were expecting like a goofy comedy going into this, you might be disappointed because it's not really that. I mean, there are some elements of it, but this really is like a depressing drama at the center. It's based on a real life story of Jeffrey Manchester who broke into a bunch of McDonald's. Yes, this actually happened. I think if you've seen Derek Cianfrance's other work, like, Place Beyond the Pines or Blue Valentine, it's very much in the vein of those. Channing Tatum was excellent here. He wasn't given enough praise for his performance here. I feel like this movie just kind of came out and no one really paid attention, unfortunately.
Number four for me. Now, this one, everybody was hyping up Zach Gregor's Weapons. All I knew about it going in was exactly how they were marketing it. Children in a classroom, 2:17 a.m., got out of their homes and ran away with their arms flying up in the air. I had no clue really what to expect other than that. And what I got was something that shocked the hell out of me. I think the storytelling is very much in line with Magnolia, although I think this is a better movie than Magnolia. Most people will disagree with me on that, which is fine. I think that Zach Gregor has proven himself to be probably in the same vein as like comedy turned horror filmmakers like Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
And it makes sense why Jordan Peele was fighting for the rights to this film. I mean, after watching it, I'm like, yeah, I'd be fighting too, and then firing my agents.
Parlaying into that, my number four is also going to be Weapons. Like you, I really had no anticipation for this movie, didn't really know what it would be about beyond the simple premise. And I'm going to say something that will probably be kind of controversial. I kind of hated Barbarian. I wasn't a fan of that movie at all. After walking out of this, my first thought was, is that the biggest director glow up I've ever seen going from Barbarian to this? The performances were all great. I really liked the Magnolia-esque storytelling. I thought that worked extremely well. I thought the story was strong.
Number three for me is probably the movie on everyone's best of the year list, One Battle After Another. Paul Thomas Anderson, probably my third favorite film from his so far. It's a neo-noir, dark comedy, political thriller, kind of like Eddington, but on a bigger scale, much, much bigger scale, and much longer too, although it never felt long, nearly 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And it just takes you on an adventure that is full of ups and downs, mostly downs, but you can't help just watching this disaster unfold, especially for our main protagonist, Bob, which is Leonardo DiCaprio, who is a washed up revolutionary.
Yeah.
And you're just laughing at him because he's not a good person, but he wants to do the best for his daughter. Paul Thomas Anderson is not known for action films whatsoever. But the way he directed these action sequences, it's like I never knew he had it in him to do so.
I don't think anyone did.
But yeah, no, this is one of the better films of this year. And it had me thinking months and months later after I saw it. And I rewatched it again. I thought it was even better on second viewing.
So my number three is going to be Ari Aster's Eddington. I surprisingly, I'm not like a huge fan of Ari Aster. Controversial take, I thought Hereditary was overhyped. Midsommar, I actually really liked. And then Beau is Afraid, in my opinion, is his worst movie so far. So for this movie, I wasn't really sure what to expect, when it was releasing or anything. I knew the cast was stacked, right? Joaquin Phoenix, Emma Stone, Pedro Pascal was like everywhere now, and Austin Butler. So I was like, I'm intrigued. but I really didn't know what to expect. The first time I watched this, I kind of just walked out being like, what the hell did I just watch? The second time I watched this, I appreciated it a lot more. And it really rose up fast on my best of the year list because I really think this has so much to say about, the pandemic and just how most people are today, unfortunately. And I think this is going to end up being a cult classic like 2 years from now. People are going to say, like, like this is like a masterpiece. Why did more people see this movie?
Number two for me is going to be Avatar Fire and Ash. I'm a tremendous Avatar fan. I don't give a shit. I love these movies. I don't care what you say. I think Avatar, The Way of Water, that's probably like one of my, if not my favorite movie of all time. So with Fire and Ash, my expectations were through the roof. And what I came back with was an extraordinary movie that is semi-flawed, but is still just as great as a lot of James Cameron's other movies. He never disappoints with spectacle whatsoever. I think the story is big, if not a little too big for everything that they're trying to put in one movie. I believe there was like 3.5 hours of movie and he had to cut it to like 30 minutes. So that makes sense with the runtime. And he is teasing a director's cut, which hopefully perfects this third chapter. But I still think this is one of the best, if not the best movie of the year and of the last 2, maybe even 3 years since The Way of Water. The acting is great. The story is great. It's a continuation of the second movie. I think the characters are really well done here, especially the dynamics between the family and them grieving a lot of the time. I think Quaritch is a great villain, but I think also his relationship between Barong adds something new to the table. The Fire Ash people is great. I wanted more of that. I am hoping, if we get a 4 and 5, that would be just phenomenal. But if worst comes to worst, we don't, and he starts making his Ghost of Hiroshima, which sounds very promising.
My number 2 of 2025 for best of the year is Sinners. I will say I don't think this is his best movie, but I do think this movie like proved to everyone Ryan Coogler, like he's a name to watch, and I'm really looking forward to seeing whatever his next original movie is. But I thought this movie was very strong. I watched it 3 times at this point, and I think each time I watched it, it kind of grew on me. Michael B. Jordan, he was great in like dual roles. I really thought like the vampire elements like that worked well too. I would be surprised if Michael B. Jordan gets nominated for this, honestly.
So number one for me this year, that is Wake Up Dead Man, Knives Out Mystery. I got to see this at a local mom and pop theater because fuck Netflix. It's movie of the year, in my opinion. I think that this is the best in the trilogy. I think it's the best in Rian Johnson's filmography. And I love the first Knives Out movie. That holds a special place in my heart. Glass Onion was good, but not great. But Wake Up Dead Man beat all of them. This is very much a darker Knives Out film, which I love. It's like more inspired by Edgar Allan Poe, which I think helps this third installment. Josh O'Connor is a phenomenal actor, and he is the main character here. Benoit Blanc is more of a supporting lead, which I actually think that was a great change of pace. Nearly like 2.5 hours long. In my personal opinion, I think it earned every minute of its runtime. Blew me away with twists and turns. There are so many twists and turns in this film that my jaw was on the floor. After this, I think Rian Johnson has now become one of my favorite filmmakers. I mean, I already knew he was great when I saw The Last Jedi. I don't care what anyone else thinks. This ended up being my favorite movie of the year. And if I didn't say it before, I'll say it again. Fuck Netflix.
Okay, my number 1 movie of 2025 is probably no surprise to most people, One Battle After Another. This is a movie that kind of surprised me. I didn't really have a lot of anticipation for this. I knew Paul Thomas Anderson as fans, and I liked some of his other movies, but I didn't really love any of them. I think this is in his top 3 movies he's ever done. Leonardo DiCaprio, he gave another great meme-worthy performance here. And I thought all the performances were good, and this is probably going to end up sweeping the Oscars this year just because there's not really a ton of other great contenders that I've seen people talking about. That's my favorite movie of 2025.
Thank you for listening. We will be back with our most anticipated 2026, which should be a fun discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be very fun. But keep an eye out for that, and thank you for listening.